many faces on. Got it. Recording and popper. I got it. Thank you very much. Lots of faces that I know, but my gosh, there's a whole bunch of faces and names on here that I don't know, which is really awesome. So I love it. So I was asked to talk about strategic planning on your schedule for 2022. I think I was supposed to speak in November, maybe, but at least that's what I saw. And so there were some switches here, and they said, Susan said, "Hey, Lee, can you do this today?" And I said, "Sure, I've done this before, so why not?" So if you attended or listened to the affiliate summit set of topics from September of 2021, was it September? I think it was. This is a bit of a repeat. So I've added in a couple of different things, but the nuts and bolts of strategic planning really doesn't change much from, era to era or decade to decade. I've tried to sort of synthesize this down. I've added in things that I've done when I've done strategic planning and sort of a current real life strategic plan that's going on within Missouri and Kansas currently. I've done strategic planning with a number of affiliate organizations over the years. I think McFairs with, you need to mute yourselves here. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. So I did the first one with McFairs in Michigan, and I've worked with, recently I worked with Arkansas team and a couple of other teams. Oh, I know there was one in Tennessee. So I've done this with many of the affiliate organizations and with some other groups. And strategic planning is really, really necessary. And, these days, it used to be years ago, they do this thing where let's, do strategic planning. Oh, then we'll get together in 5 years from now. Well, 5 years is really way too long to continue to do strategic planning. So it's gotten down to 3 years. And honestly, in my personal opinion, I think that the strategic plan and the documents that I'm going to share with you should be reviewed on a very regular basis, maybe even annually. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So here we go. All right, everybody can see the slides, yes? Okay, good to go. All right, so we're going to talk about it and sort of the structure and how the strategic planning process goes. I'm going to assume, can you see this slide, or is this bar in the way? Is this bar in the way at the top, the share bar in the way? I can move it over to the side. No? Okay, thank you. So I'm sure many of you have gone through strategic planning. So what is it exactly? Let me move this out of the way so I can read my slides. So strategic planning is a process that an organization goes through to define basically who it is and what it does. So you're defining your strategy or your direction, and you make decisions once you've defined that strategy on how much effort you're going to give to those particular strategies. All right, effort, funds, and so on. Okay, click, go, next. There we go. I borrowed this from the balance, and it's 7 elements of a strategic plan. And really, this is the core elements. So you talk about a mission statement, you talk about a vision statement. I'm sorry, vision statement first, then a mission statement, then the core values of your organization. You do a SWOT analysis, which I'm going to explain all this here in shortly. Long-term goals, your yearly objectives, and then your action plan. So this is really a great slide to present to your board if you plan to do strategic planning. Again, this is sort of borrowed from the Balance website. A vision statement describes the way you envision your business or organization. I thought I changed all the words to organization, but clearly I missed this one. So what do you see yourselves as doing? it should communicate that dream. You know, what's the big picture here for you to your staff and customers, people that, you know, come to your events, people that come to your website in an inspirational manner. All right. And there's lots of examples of those kinds of vision statements out there. Then after that, while a vision describes how you view your organization to your stakeholders, your constituents, if you will, then the mission describes what you do currently. So this can change. The vision statement doesn't really change unless you do a huge rebranding. The mission statement describes what you do, for who, and how. And it needs to be very clearly stated. And it focuses on your mission each day. Focusing on this mission every day should enable you to reach your vision. And so literally, when I do strategic planning and we start getting into the, you know, the deep dive of what you're going to do, I say to the group, all right, that sounds like a great idea. How does that fit your mission statement? Does it fit your mission statement? Does it fit? Because often we can go off on tangents and we want to cover the world sometimes, and I understand that completely. A mission statement could broaden your choices, or it could possibly also narrow them. The core values are your beliefs, the organization's beliefs, and the behaviors of your organization. So they're the beliefs that you have that will enable you to achieve your vision and your mission. So what is your view of the world that drives this organization? So in the beginning, and often, you know, over the course of the life of an organization, you want to do a SWOT analysis. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And what that does is, once you go through this process, it provides you with how your organization looks to the rest of the world. What's your position out there with everybody else? And it allows you to spot and name important aspects and happenings and adversaries of your organization. And adversaries is kind of a rough term. I'm not really thinking about that in terms of adversaries, but it's more like, who might you be interacting with that might not understand what your mission is or what your goals are, or might maybe, you know, present a challenge to you. So you always want to know, and I say this when I do group communication skills as well. Every single group, I don't care who you are, there is a person in there that is the negative nanny. What's that new word? Debbie Downer. That's the right one. That's the new one. All right. There's always the Debbie Downer for every single time you come up with a great idea of how we're going to do this or that, and someone says, yeah, wait a minute, we can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? Well, we've never done it that way before. Oh, I love that line. All right. So really? So, you know, there's always that person that says those things, and they're really important to be in the group because they help you see some things that maybe you don't see that you might need to pay attention to. Same thing with the SWOT analysis. You need to make sure you understand who are the potential characters, organizations out there that are ones that you're going to have to make sure that they fully understand what you're about. And so you may have to educate them. That's a whole nother part of my life of educating people about fetal alcohol, as to who we are, what we do, that you think, are you kidding me? You don't know this already? But you have to be patient with these people. You have to educate them. All right, long-term goals. These are statements that drill down a level below the vision and then describes how you plan to achieve it. So this is now we're getting into I hate this phrase, but it's out there everywhere. My students use it all the time. The deep dive. All right. So this set of goals usually starts 3 years out, extends to around 5. I'm actually adjusting that to even shorter periods of time into the future that directly align with your mission and your vision. Critical connection here. And I'm going to show you how I do this. Then we have yearly objectives. Each long-term goal must have or should have a few one-year objectives that help you advance your goal along. These goals can be, goals that's going to take you 3 to 5 years to accomplish. And so each year you want to say, okay, we can see by what we've done that we've edged a little bit closer to completion of that goal. It may not happen in 1 year, but you want to see some movement. These objectives, and I'm sure you've seen this use of this word SMART, they need to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. And I'll give you some examples of those. Then action plans. Now we're getting down to, all right, we got the mission, we got the vision, we got the mission, we got the long-term plans, we got the objectives. Now we're down to, how are we gonna do it? Who is gonna do it? Do we have the funds to do it? So now you're getting into the real, gritty, nitty-gritty detail. And it all depends, this detail depends upon the amount of flexibility you want your team to have. How much latitude does the team have in achieving these goals? How does all that work in your particular organization? The more detail that's provided, the less flexibility exists. Sometimes, however, I guess in my view, I like to see the detail really nailed out carefully. And if we need to modify that to make it work for us, that's okay. All right. Now, when do you need to do strategic planning? Well, I've sort of said this already a little bit. Certainly when you initiate a new organization or you're rebranding, you want to do strategic planning. You want to revise it every 3 to 5 years. I need to change that. I actually think it needs to be probably every 1 to 3, maybe 2 to 4. Or when you hit a state of apathy among your members and you need to sort of ramp it up again, recharge, come up with, okay, what is our group going to do? Do we still want to do this? Do we like what we're doing? Is there a better way to do this? And then certainly when you have a change in leadership, who gets invited? Everybody, all your board members, all your committee members, all your key players, whoever you have determined need to be involved in your strategic plan in your organization. All right, so I've done these in a bunch of different ways. I've done a one all-day event. We start at 9 o'clock in the morning and we finish at 4. And we're moving fast in the process. But in order to make that happen, I've done a lot of the background work and had discussions with people prior to that. So there was a lot of things that happened first. I've done 2 half-day events. I've done with Arkansas, I did evening meetings for 2 hours each over the course of about 4 or 5 months, because that's when the board got together. Basically, you want to do this for however it works for your organization. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to step in here to a process that I've used with many organizations. So here's a typical one-day strategic planning meeting. All right, start with coffee, informal meeting, kind of a gathering, getting to know people. There's all kinds of ways of doing that. It depends upon your group. Then we step in with formal introductions. Who are you? And what is your role in this organization? And then I present an outline for the day. But then we step into the structure of your organization. Literally, at this point, we're now discussing who does what. We've identified who's here. Now, who does what in this organization? What is the role of each person? Yeah, somebody needs to mute their mic. It's in my ear. There we go. Thank you. Then we do some what I call future gazing. What do you want to see happen in 3 years? And you got to have that big hairy goal out there, because this is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder covers such an enormously broad spectrum. So you've really got to define, are you going to focus on advocacy? All right, in the next 3 years, are you going to focus on prevention? Are you going to focus on support groups for families with kids with FASD? You got to get this narrowed down. Otherwise, What happens if you don't do that? Then you end up just basically dabbling in this and dabbling at that, and nothing really moves forward for you in terms of accomplishing the goals that you want to see happen. All right, so we do all that for future gazing. Then we do this process called brainstorming, and I let people tell me whatever they want to see happen, and we put it up on one of those flip charts, and everybody gets to see what everybody's ideas are, because everybody who belongs to your organizations bring their own agenda, they bring their own ideas, they bring their own view of what they want to see happen. Break for lunch. Then we go back in and we look at all that big list of brainstorming ideas, and then we sort of rethink them and try and capture them in maybe some categories. And then, and again, this is one day. How are we going to make it happen? So, all right, here's your list of things that you want to do. Oh, I'm sorry. In the rethinking the ideas process, you got to get it down to a priority set of things you're going to do. So, and I'll show you how we do this, or how I've done it. Then how you're going to make it happen, and then getting it down on paper. So, okay, here's what we said we're going to do in the next 6 months. Here's what we said we're going to do in the next year. Let's get it down and put it down on paper. All right, brainstorm process. Here's what I do. Like I said, your group is going to have a ton of ideas, which is great. I love that process. Anything goes, within reason. All right. You would get them all done on paper. Like I said, I use flip charts with the sticky backing, and I post it all on the wall so everybody can see. And then I use a prioritization process, and there's a number of those out there. I use something called the Delphi technique, where you've got the big list out there. Everyone votes on a piece of paper, so nobody has to raise their hand or feel uncomfortable about saying, yeah, I like that idea, or no, I don't like that idea. So everyone votes, and they identify the first round in their top 3 choices with numbers 1, 2, 3. And these are collected, and numbers are posted on the big list of ideas. And you can do probably up to 3, no more than 3 rounds of that, because maybe I've picked, well, I'm sorry, you can do this a number of different ways. You can do 1, 2, and 3 one time, or you can do, okay, first time pick your top choice, second time pick your second choice, and third time pick your third choice. So it's lots of different ways of doing this. All right, I promised you that I would show you how to lay these things out. This is one way that I have done a strategic plan, and Tom and others who do grant writing will recognize this. This is a format that's used often by CDC, HRSA, and other organizations, of how you lay out your goal, what the objective is, one objective, and then what the tasks are to try and meet that objective. So what you see here is the one that we did for McPhair's. And one of the ideas was to have a clearinghouse for FASD information in Michigan and accumulate the information regarding services and resources available. Task or objective 1, enhance the website. That's one way of getting a clearinghouse and information out there. Okay, you got a website. Now, task 1 is you got to populate the website, you got to add pages to the website, and so on. So this document here is just one page of many for the goals and objectives. Column 2 is additional details, all kinds of information, things that you think you want to put on the website. It's assigned to who, when is it going to be due, and then how are you going to know that it's done? All right, I'm a big evaluator. I teach evaluation. You got to be able to figure out when you know you have achieved the stated task. All right, so there's one method. I'm a visual girl, and I love to have things that are very clear and very visual. This is another one that I did when I was the chair of the Maternal Child Health Coalition in St. Louis. So item number 1, define the role of the board. Oh, no, I did this, actually, this is 2021. I did the same model with the Arkansas team. Define role of the board members and role of the work groups. That's item 1. discussion held via strategic planning sessions to more clearly differentiate between the board and the work group. That was one action step. The accountability for that is the None for 9 board. The status column is green for go, it's moving along. Yellow for it's kind of moving along, it's getting there. Maybe we need to revisit and tweak it. And red means it's not happening, it's stopped. All right, so we really need to figure out what is causing the thing to be on hold. So this is, again, a very simplistic version. They defined these were probably the goals that they defined for the next year. So final thoughts. When you start these strategic planning sessions, you want to start with some ground rules so that everybody's on board with how this process is going to proceed. Everybody's agreeable to the fact that every voice gets to be heard, even the shy, quiet ones. And I'll mention this here, that it really takes a facilitator who knows how to bring other people out and not let all the, I know you guys will get this, the loud voices, the ones who always get in there with saying, get their idea in there first, and it's like, wait a minute. So I really appreciate that idea. I think it's a great idea. Can we hear from some other people about their ideas? And sometimes you've got some people in the group who haven't agreed to the rules. I often will say, everybody's got to let, you can say one thing one time, and then after everybody has said their piece, then I'll let you give another idea. So I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do these ground rules, but you've got to have everybody in agreement to the process if you're going to make this process work. So it does take a strong facilitator. I basically, you guys will just crack up when you hear this, but I use the same methodology for my church groups. And this church is a small little, rural church group. And when they have meetings, everybody wants to chit chat about the weather and their chickens, and their goats. And I think that's awesome. And I love it. But I say to them, hey guys, you know what? We're here. I don't want to keep you more than an hour. So let's just really stay focused on what we want to accomplish. And so you got to keep things moving along, and you got to make sure that no one dominates these conversations. That's two really critical pieces about this whole process. Okay, real life example. So not everybody knows this, but I'm going to be open about it now. No Fast Missouri is disbanding. I have been wanting to retire. I still do stuff, obviously, but I've been running Don't Fast Missouri for 20 years. I've said to them for the last 3 years, who wants to take over? Nobody wants to take over the leadership. Okay, fine. Well, as it happens, the lovely Kansas group has just started, and I've been talking to them as they've been building their organization. And so they've been now official. They're part of this affiliate network. Well, so we've been yakking about maybe creating a bi-state affiliate organization. First of its kind, never been done. Let's see. Now, you have to know that I ran a program called Mr. FASTIC as a regional training center under the CDC funding for years. Mr. FASTIC stood for Midwest Regional FASD Training Center. So I had Missouri as the hub, and I had 6 states around us who were all satellite teams. We got money, we all got together, we created our plan together, we created our strategic plan together, we submitted it to the CDC, we got funded, and then we did it. So when we have this conversation with Kansas and their Kansas FASD support network, they've already got a clear set of very viable objectives in their strategic plan. My team has reviewed their mission, and we're on board with it. So the issue here is, how are we going to restructure, which is basically asking a lot of Kansas, because they just went through all this. They just got funded. They're not funded. They just got named as the affiliate for the new Kansas organization. But they're brave women, and you know, they're willing to have a sit down and have a conversation. I think we're meeting tonight, as a matter of fact.
And we have a male on our team too.
You have a man. Oh, wow. Wow. I have two. I think I have two. No, I have three. Thank you. And I should have said too, to both Kat and Kathy, please chime in here when I'm talking about this process, because we're literally in the midst of it right now. So the Kansas leadership, which is Kathy and Kat primarily, and Cami, they're going to meet with their board. They're confirmed that they're all in favor of this idea and the support of the merger of the two groups. So once we've gotten the thumbs up on this, now then it's part of a new strategic plan, basically building on what they've already identified, because Missouri is in agreement with those plans, those objectives, and how will we make those objectives work across a two-state organization. So my team is, we asked them whether or not they wanted to be actively involved, or whether they wanted to be an advocate. Portion of them wanted to be active. You know, like I said, these groups been together for over 20 years now, 22. You know, kind of not been heavily involved, but I am convinced, confident, not convinced, maybe confident, that with the leadership of Kathy and Kat, that my team will be willing and able to make this new version of whatever we call it, whatever we come up with, work out. So I set them down, probably upstairs. All right, so I think that's the final slide. Yes, it is. So I'm going to stop sharing here and bring us back to the screen and open us up with questions. There's a bunch of stuff here in the chat box. Are there actual questions in here that I need to address? Yes, yes, no. Lee will provide the slides. Of course. No problem. Yep. You can go a mile wide and an inch deep, or an inch wide and a mile deep, was shared at the first summit. That was from Susan, and I'm not exactly sure. What was that in reference to, Susan?
The first summit that we attended, when we had a Kentucky affiliate, she was presenting, and they were presenting what they had worked on. And she said their group had decided that they could go a mile wide and an inch deep, where they would know a little bit about a lot of stuff, or they could focus on their strengths and what they wanted to do, go an inch wide and go a mile deep and really get good at it, which is what they decided to do. And they took on an objective, and they were very successful in taking this approach. They didn't try to be everything to everybody.
Yeah, very critical. Love the analogy. I get it. It's true. There's different ways of doing this. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Hi, Lee. I just want to thank you so much for your presentation. I do something similar in my personal life. Something that has also worked for me is to do a vision board. So you actually do it in a picture format. Not everybody, you know, it's more realistic when you see it. So what I'm just thinking off the top of my head is, you know, funding, you know, imagine money coming in. What are the funding resources, more from CDC, Health and Human Services, and you see that. I'm currently in Washington, D.C., and believe it or not, I fit in my, I'm just gonna flash it. I have a vision board, but I'm only showing, I brought that in my suitcase, and the reason being, it's so powerful to write down a similar format of what you just shared with us, and then you put it in the pictorial form, and it just feels more real, and it motivates me when I wake up in the morning to see it. And I'll just tell you, I wasn't planning, I'm kind of sensitive about sharing this, but there's something on my vision board where I imagine I was at this event with thousands of people, and I had it on my vision board that I was on the stage, and it actually happened. It literally happened.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I would like you know, as a suggestion is to have a virtual board. So since everybody's not, you know, in one particular area, I forget what the name of the app or the thing you use, but they have it where you can make it virtually where people can see it.
Yeah.
You know about that?
Love it. I love the visioning process. I've used it over the years. The first one I ever did was to vision, you know, what I wanted to manifest in my life. And at that time, 25, 30 years ago, I wanted to be, you know, have a place to write. And I had a picture in my mind of what that place was going to look like, where I was going to be sitting. And I have literally I've recreated that vision in every house I've ever moved in every office I've ever been in. And I just think it's really powerful. So I love what you have added here. Very, very good. Other thoughts, other questions? Anybody here on the screen today gone through strategic planning at your organization? Yes. And so you know, you recognize how important it is. I'm not sure that I added anything new to what you have already experienced, but I just think the only thing that I think is really important is that I know that document that I shared with you with the colors, the green and the yellow and the red. In my former life in St. Louis, in that board, we sent that out every month to the board members prior to the meeting. It was part of the meeting documents. So they saw that list of objectives and where we were and who was in charge every single time we met. And I thought it was a powerful mechanism, and it kept us on track. And it narrowed down the items on the agenda, because if item number B is moving along and it's green, you don't need to talk about that so much. But if item, you know, Z is red and it's stopped, then that needs to be discussed. So, so yeah, I think that document alone, I have always loved.
Lee, I think,
Can
I
I say
think
something,
it's-
Susan, real quick?
yeah, sure.
Susan, hey, Lee, that was great. Thank you. This is Amy with Proof Alliance NC in North Carolina. You had asked, was there anything else you would add? And I would say using your format would be brilliant, but I highly recommend for groups to maybe have a moderator that is neutral, that is not a part of any of the organizations, if at all possible. Having a knowledge base of FASD would be beneficial, but you need that neutral person so they can hear both sides. Like when you were saying there was someone who's the loudest voice in the room and they keep answering, having someone neutral helps with that.
Good idea.
Is a recommendation.
Great idea.
Thanks. Good seeing your face.
Good to hear your voice.
Thank you.
I think that Lee does a really good job of being able to take it's a tough topic when you talk about strategic planning, because it forces us to really hone in and put pen to paper or using our computers. But with all the advocacy that you're all doing and the hopes that the Respect Act passes, this strategic planning is critical. No matter how big your organization is, what your dreams are, you're going to have to be able to articulate what are our vision, what is our goals, how are we going to get there, and who's going to do it. Because funders are going to look at this document very seriously in terms of evaluating, are they worth the risk? Have they have a well thought out plan? We're a very passionate group, and passion will take you down the road a good piece. But when we're talking about funding, there are just some basic business principles that we're going to have to incorporate into the work that we do to even be thought of as eligible for helping to apply for grants.
Yeah, it's really important to get this stuff nailed down. Otherwise, your group doesn't see what you've accomplished. And when you get together and okay, what are we going to focus on? Well, you got to know what you've done. So you can say at the end of 6 months, look, we did this, we did X, Y, Z. That's really critical, because if the group isn't seeing that on a regular basis, that's when they start to lose, I don't really know if I want to be involved in this group. Okay. So that participation and being able to see on a regular basis what the group is accomplishing is critical to success. Good suggestions. I saw in the chat box too that someone's here from MassFast. Is that's the same group that was person who just retired? I'm blocking her
Enid.
name right now. I'm getting old.
Enid Watson.
Enid,
Watson.
yes. Yes. Thank you. So if is it Kristen, I think, made the comment. Yeah. So Kristen, if you need me to send you stuff, if you want to have a conversation to just sort of get things laid out for yourself, I'm always happy to have that conversation with you. Any other comments? Good. So we've added visioning, we've added moderator. Lee, update your slides. I will remember that next time I do this. Constantly doing this. Any other comments? I have an idea that I wanted to just throw out there if everybody's done with the strategic planning conversation, but I don't want to cut anybody out here.
I have one comment. Hey, Lee, it's Terry Henson from North Carolina. We are getting ready to have a strategic planning meeting within the next month or two, hopefully. Do you think it's important that, by the way, thank you very much. That was very useful information for me, and I'll share it with the board. Do you think it's advantageous to have a facilitator who is more versed with FASD or not?
Yeah, I kind of do. It made it awfully easy for me to step into these strategic plans meetings to know the depth and breadth of alcohol spectrum disorders. And you don't know me, but I'm a really passionate person. I had this conversation with, I don't know, they're doing strategic planning with the new FASD, United. And after talking to me for a few minutes, she said, "Oh, you're really passionate," and I'm retired, for crying out loud. So the thing is that I think it's kind of important that the person who's the facilitator is really passionate, or at least, gets it, gets the issues. And these are always in the forefront of my mind because I teach a course every semester to students out in the University of Nevada that I wrote based on the competency guides that we wrote and rewrote and revised in 2015. And then I've added in, all new literature with each semester, but man, they love it. So yes is the answer.
Thank you.
So to my last comment. So this semester for this course, I, instead of an exam, which they were thrilled not to have another exam, I said to the students, what I would really love to see is, would you be interested? Of course we would. Would you be interested in having a final presentation on writing public service announcements? Oh, yeah. I said, okay. All right, so this is a final presentation. It's for a grade. You should see the very explicit guidelines I wrote for this 100-point PSA presentation. But I'm telling you, they're impressive. So I had them to identify the audience. They had to do 3 PSAs. They had to tell me why they chose that audience, those 3 audiences. They had to tell me the literature that guides us about why we need to get messages to that group. They had to then just make the PSA up. It had to be their own idea. So literally, what does it look like? And then they had to tell me how they were going to market it and why they were going to use that particular marketing strategy. So this is the first semester I've done this. I'm literally, I mean, that's what I've been doing all day. So it's like here in my head, you know, and I'm thinking, I wonder if this group would be interested in me presenting some of the results from this process. You know, given maybe some ideas about, you know, what does a PSA look like, you know, because we're always struggling with how to get the language out there and how, you know, what do we make these things look like and how are we going to market them? I mean, why do we need to, one of them, I love this. One of them was to put these messages inside the box, the pregnancy test box that people buy at the Walgreens or wherever. Great idea. Great idea. So anyway, if that seems to be of interest, I'll, you know, let Susan and the people in charge know, and I'd be happy to do that.
I think that would be awesome. Would your students be interested in allowing us to use their PSA on our network?
I'll find out. I'll pose that question.
I mean, we'd give them credit, but I think that would be an awesome job for everybody who comes to our website to be able to see these PSAs and see them go through. I think that'd be fabulous.
Sure. I gave one idea away to one of the students, and because I started on this PSA a while ago. Remember the very well done "We Can Do It" with Rosie the Riveter. That ad. All right, it's a great visual. And so my daughter and I were trying to come up with text to come up to find the right words for a PSA. And so I, you know, lost track of that. It's got set aside. But I threw it out to the students and I said, if anybody wants to use this, you can. She did a great job. So that's one of them that I think you'll love.
I love it. Great idea, Lee. You got your students doing a whole lot more work than they would have if they would have taken an exam.
No kidding. And so much more fun and so much more fun to grade.
Practical. Yeah.
Practical. Yeah. Love it. Whoever as a faculty member is excited about grading the final thing, who gets excited? Me. All right. Well, I've run out of stuff to say. It was great to see you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day and week. Hope you all had a great Easter. And spring, let it come. I'm ready.